Guten Tag und herzlich willkommen hier im Huchstanan im Herzen des Schwarzwaldes. Good afternoon and welcome here to Huchstanan in the heart of the Black Forest. My name is Nadine and I'm allowed to be a host today. I would like to show you a little bit more about Huchstanan, for example, the glass manufacture building as well as glass making itself, also the Steigenhaus where we have beautiful cuckoo clocks, and I also show you a little bit more about the Black Forest. Huchstanan is a family-run business. It's over 700 years old and we are very proud of it. That's because it's one of the most eco places we have here in the Black Forest. We are here at the entrance of the Ravena Gorge. Behind me, you can see the viaduct. Actually, it's a train bridge, but we call it a viaduct because of its special shape. The train that is passing the viaduct is part of our public transportation system. The original viaduct got built here between 1884 and 1887. It was made out of wood, steel and stones. But it has quite a nice curve inside, so it was very difficult for the trains to pass it. It was also the time of the Industrial Revolution, so the trains as well as the locomotives got faster. It was difficult for them to pass this original viaduct. That's why the Germans had to blow it up. They destroyed it and they built a new one, and this was in the beginning of the 20th century. During World War II, we had a little bit of fighting here in the Black Forest, and most of the fighting was taking place here at Huchstanan because the Allies tried to get a hold on the viaduct that is behind me. Using the viaduct and the train is the fastest, easiest and safest way to pass the Black Forest. And that's why the Allies were very interested in getting a hold on the viaduct that is behind me. The Germans were able to defend it for quite a long time, but at some time they needed to leave this area, and so they blew up the viaduct once again. After World War II, Germany was divided in 4 sections. We had the British, American, Russian and French section. And we are located here in the French section, and that's why the French army rebuilt the viaduct that we are still using today. It was at the end of the 1940s. Earlier the 2000s we modernized the viaduct a little bit, and nowadays we are able to heat up the rails of the viaduct, and this makes it safer and easier for the trains to pass the viaduct during the winter time. I'm here on a little bridge that is part of the hike that we offer you at Huchstanan. It's one of the options that you have here. And this area got its name after the little river that is to my right as well as to my left. The river is called Ravena and it gives this gorge its name. It's called Ravena Gorge and it's quite a nice hike for you that you can do by yourself or guided with one of our guides. Now I would like to explain you a bit more about the animals that we have here in the Black Forest. We have very cute animals. For example, squirrels, lizards and buzzards. We don't have eagles here in the Black Forest, but we also have foxes, wolves, wild rabbits, red deer, stags and other animals. They are all very cute and we all like them very much. We also have a lot of mushrooms in this area. One is a very special mushroom. It has a red head with white dots on it. In German we call it Fliegenpilz. I'm actually from the north of Germany, and in my area we have a special nickname for this mushroom. We call it mother-in-law mushroom, but I have no idea why. It's probably because when you eat this mushroom you have a once-in-your-lifetime experience. So that might be a reason why we call it mother-in-law mushroom up in the north of Germany. So we actually reached the end of our little hike. Normally that's the point where we turn around and start walking back with our guests, but you also can always turn around by yourself and walk back as well. This is a very nice point to take selfies here, because normally you have the waterfall in your back, like I have at the moment as well, so it's quite nice here. I also would like to take the opportunity to explain you my hat. In German we call it a Bollenhut. If you translate it, it would be a pom-pom hat. The Bollenhut is an essential part of our Volkskostüm, or how we call it Black Forest Tracht. Anyone seeing the straw hat with the soft red wool pom-poms immediately thinks of the Black Forest. So we can say it became kind of a trademark for this region, and sometimes even for the whole country. But did you know that this formal headdress may be worn only by Protestant women in the villages Kirnbach, Gutach and Reichenbach? Well, these three villages are the home of the famous traditional pom-pom hat, which was created about 250 years ago. The hat used to have a weight more than 4 pounds. Nowadays it's less heavy because my hat is made out of straw. But in the older days, 250 years ago, the legends tells you that the hat was made out of concrete, and that's why it used to be so heavy. I have 11 pom-poms on my hat, but actually there are 14 pom-poms, but only 11 of them are visible. The 14 pom-poms on my hat, they represent the 14 saints that protect our Black Forest area. The hat may be worn for the first time by girls after the confirmation, so with the age of about 14 or 15 years. We normally wore those hats if we attended a church, a mass, or festival or family meeting. We have the hat with 2 different colors of pom-poms. The red pom-poms tells you that I am unmarried. Well, after I got married, then I must follow my husband's rules. Sorry, that's a little bit difficult to swallow, to be honest with you. So after you got married, you must follow your husband's rules, and this tells you that after you're married, life is over, and then you wear black pom-poms, of course. So behind me, you can see the hotel of Huchstanan. There's also a picture of Marie Antoinette. She arrived here on her way from Vienna to Paris in the year 1770. She was on her way from Vienna to Paris to get married to Louis XVI. And we all know their marriage didn't end in a very good way because both lost their hat at the beginning of the French Revolution, of course. But Marie Antoinette stayed here at Huchstanan a couple of nights because this way she was able to stay in her home country. The property of Huchstanan belonged to the Habsburg family, to the Austrian Empire at this time. And the landlords of Huchstanan were allowed to collect the taxes for the Habsburg family. So Huchstanan was in its original purpose a horse trading place. It was very famous and was very important for this region. The people that traveled up and down the road that you came down the hill as well, the road that we call hell, well, the horses were quite exhausted when they traveled up and down this road, so they needed a break. Those people who were able to afford to stay in the hotel here, they stayed in the hotel behind me. If they couldn't afford it, well, then they left the horses here, borrowed a new pair of horses, went on with their journey, and as soon as they come back, they turned in the borrowed horses and got their own ones back. This was less expensive. So this is the original purpose of a Huchstanan. Now we're here in front of the glass manufacture building, and I would like to introduce you to my friend Mila. She's going to explain you what's going to happen inside and everything about the history of glass manufacturing.
So, hello, welcome to our glass manufactory here at the Black Forest Village. In a minute we're going to go inside and I'm going to tell you a bit about the hot history of glass making, as well as the building that we have here and the glass artists that work here. So here we are inside the glass manufactory. And even though this building has only been around for about 10 years, the history of glass making actually goes back thousands of years. So it was a very important tradition and profession here in the Black Forest, because here we have all the elements that we need in order to make glass. So glass is basically made through melting down of specific mixtures. This would be sand, potash, which is basically an ash of a tree that's soaked in water, and different oxides that are melted together and styled into shape. So here you see Michael Greiner at his work. So what Michael is a glass blower, which means he blows directly into the glass to make glass items. So as you see, he takes long glass rods and he holds them up to the direct flame in order to melt the glass that's there. He'll then blow directly into it in order to make different items such as glass birds or tree ornaments or thin wine glasses. So here we have our other glass artist, Axel Pautz. So what Axel is a glass maker. This literally means that he makes his own glass. So you'll see here that we have 3 different ovens. The first oven is a melting oven. So in the evening, what Axel will do is he'll take some glass pellets, which are basically bigger pieces of glass. He'll put them inside the oven, and overnight they're going to melt to make a sort of fluid, liquidy mixture. And in the morning when he comes in, he takes the metal rods that he has over there. He'll go into the big oven and take out some glass, and then work mainly at the heating oven in the middle. So basically, he'll put the glass in the middle, he'll turn it, take it out, and he'll blow into the metal rod that he's holding right now in order to make bigger objects. So you'll see that he has a lot of glass in his hand at the moment, which basically means he's able to make the bigger and heavier glass items that we have here. So after he's finished, he'll put the finished piece into the cooling oven, which is the last one that we see over there. And it's going to stay there overnight until the morning when he takes it out and the glass is cooled enough to touch and to be put on the shelf.
Now, welcome to the workbench, where we will be taking a little walk through the history of cuckoo clocks, and then we talk about how these traditional Black Forest cuckoo clocks are made. And here we have the first generation clock that came out of the Black Forest, made in the 1640s by 2 farmers who lived right over here, known as a wooden beam clock. It was made entirely out of wood and used these 3 wooden cogs for working and had this stone for the weights. But when you take a very close look at the clock, you're going to see something was missing. That's right, the second hand. So this clock had only one hand. It was very easy to tell the full hours, like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, but what was happening in between was anybody's guess. But it was the 1640s and 2 farmers built it. We give credit where it's due. And now let us glide into the 1700s. We come to the 1720s, which introduced the first cuckoo clock ever, and these were known as shield clocks, but they had a few developments and advancements. The stone weights from the first clock was replaced by these metallic weights, and the one hand got its friends. So now it has 2 hands, and it became way easier to tell the accurate time. Now let us take a look at the cuckoo bird. So every half hour he makes an appearance only once, and every full hour. So 9 o'clock 9 times, 10 o'clock 10 times. The idea behind it was you are busy, you're unable to look at your clock, you hear the chimes and you know what time it is. And by the end of the century, cuckoo clocks were a household name, and so artisans, they started experimenting and creating new figurines. And we have one of the very popular and interesting ones here, known as the dumpling eater. Let's find out why it was called so. So, half hour, he's sitting on his throne very casually and enjoying and gorging on his dumplings, and when the clock strikes full hour, there he is, eating more and more. Here we have another fun experimental clock. Take a good look. You're going to be seeing a tailor sitting inside, and he has a woman behind him holding in her hands something similar to this one. Let's see what happens when the clock strikes the full hour. He's getting hit on the head. You know why? Because he hasn't been working hard enough. So, and we call this clock the mother-in-law clock. And here we have the 3rd generation of cuckoo clocks that came around roughly the 1800s. And interestingly enough, the 1860s saw a competition, a cuckoo clock competition among the locals. And this right over here was the winner, and it was created by a railway engineer. Our beloved engineer, he paid homage to his profession. When we take a very close look at the clock, we see the designs were quite intricate and represented the railway tracks. And these clocks were mostly found by the railway stations in Germany back in the time. And interestingly enough, he went back from the figurines to the cuckoo bird. Let's have a look. Nowadays, we have more intricate and detailed works adorning the clocks, but the biggest highlight are the 3 weights. Why 3, you're wondering, right? Let's have a look and find out. And after our walk through the history of cuckoo clocks, let us dive into the process of how our craftsmen make these cuckoo clocks. We have around roughly 35 to 40 families who live here in the Black Forest who work on making these clocks. They generally work during the winter to earn some extra cash, and everybody has their own work cut out for them. So some, they are responsible for making the front decoration, some are responsible for carving the top decoration, and some are responsible for building the house for your cuckoo bird. And when we look at the casing, we see it has various openings. One for the pendulum, one is for the strings to come out, one is for the clock, and this on the top is for the cuckoo bird. And how the carvings and the decorations are done is quite interesting. So a piece of wood is taken, the tensils are placed and sprayed on, and then they are carved out. Carving is usually done using traditional tools like these. They have roughly around 40 chisels with which our craftsmen work with. And once everything has been carved out and is ready, the assembly takes place. So first, the casing which was carved out is taken, then front decoration, it is placed like this, and at the very end you have the top decoration. And this is how we make a simple cuckoo clock. But that's not all. We have more also. Especially what goes inside our cuckoo clocks are these mechanisms right over here. Our cuckoo clocks have 2 different types of weights. One are the smaller ones that drop down really fast and needs to be wound every single day, and they use this smaller mechanism right over here. And there are clocks with bigger weights like these that drop down gradually and needs to be wound once in every 8 days, and they use this bigger mechanism right over here. And now, if you remember, we had a look at a fun clock which has 3 weights. Why the 3rd weight? It was for the dancers, and they use these mechanisms right over here because on this rotating surface we put our figurines. And now what gives the cuckoo bird her voice are these bellows right over here, made out of wood, and this material over here is a combination of cotton and nylon. Let's have a look. So this is how the cuckoo bird, she gets her voice. And now for the clock with dancers. They cannot be dancing without music, right? So we have this tiny little music box that we place inside our clocks. Everything is made here in Germany except for this music box that we take from Switzerland. When we play it out normally, it's not so loud, it's not so good, right? Let us attach it to this wooden casing over here and see magic happen. It's just that the wood, it acts as an amplifier, and the sound, it resonates better. And that's all from us about the history of cuckoo clocks and how they are made here in the Black Forest. We look forward to your visit, and we hope you have a wonderful experience over here. Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to welcome you here at Huchstanan in the Black Forest. I really would love to meet you here personally. So let me say thank you that you followed me and my tour through Huchstanan, and I'm looking forward to see you. So thank you and goodbye. Bye-bye.